thoughts on the fixture?
Yeah, look, I'm happy. Look, and I think I should be. Our fans should be happy. I know the football department's happy. Our sponsors will be happy as well. We've got 4 night games. We've got a wonderful celebration for our 25th season against Hawthorn, where it's a pleasure to host the Indigenous round and the multicultural rounds for the AFL, and we'll certainly put on a whole lot of activity around that. We've got a mix of time slots as well, which is important. I think they'll appeal to our fans both in the city and in the country. So, look, all in all, I'm really pleased.
What were some of the things that you requested in the fixture, and how did the AFL go on delivering?
Yeah, look, so we were keen to get some night games. Look, we got 4 of those. Look, in an ideal world, we would have picked up maybe another Friday night game, but we've got one Thursday, one Friday night. We would have, we didn't ask for it. It would have been great to pick up another game at the MCG. We wanted a mix of time slots, and we were keen to get, as most interstates clubs do, keen to get as many of the big Victorian clubs as possible. We picked up 3 of those clubs in Hawthorn, Richmond and Geelong. So all in all, we went close to picking up what we would deem to be a pretty solid outcome.
Why do you think you were overlooked for those ones, like the other night games or the bigger clubs, Andrew?
I don't think it's a case of being overlooked. I said you've got 18 clubs, you've got to have those things shared around. I said we picked up 4 night games. We picked up a mix of time slots as well, so I think it's something that can appeal to all of our supporters.
One Friday night, would you have liked another one, do you think?
Yeah, look, I love another Friday night. It'd be great. So we wanted that mix of time slots. Look, would I like 5 night games instead of 4? Yeah, possibly. But all in all, I think it's a pretty solid outcome.
How does the club get that extra slots that they're after?
Well, look, you are asking. Look, I've sat on the other side of this. I've come from a governing body, and you receive a lot of requests, and there's a whole lot of things that you've got to take into account. But in some ways, this draw is structured, to reflect, the season that you've had. It's a forward-looking draw, but it takes into account how you've performed the year before. So, look, I'd like to think that we might be in a position to demand some of the slots that we might have preferred this year through our performances that we'll deliver over the course of the next 12 months.
That was something there's been some discussion today. We looked at Port Adelaide's draw and looked at your draw. Probably the analysis is that Port Adelaide have got more of the bigger games. So probably a reflection on sort of missing finals for a couple of years and having to sort of earn those spots back, earn those slots, those big clashes.
Yeah, look, you'd probably have to ask the AFL as to why they've scheduled it the way they've scheduled it. But some of those are just turnabout. We had Collingwood in this last season; they get Collingwood this season. So it's not all through structure. Some of it's just through sharing. And instead, in a perfect draw, we'd have 4 of those big Victorian clubs. We'd be very unhappy if we had 2. We've come out with 3. I think that's pretty reasonable. So we're really happy that the AFL has enabled us to host home games on Indigenous round and the multicultural round. So I think that's a sign of respect for the club. And we did ask them to ensure that they looked after us with our 25th season anniversary to give us a fixture against Hawthorn, which we've got set on a Thursday night, which we think will be an absolute blockbuster. So, and that does enable us, through that scheduling, to build in a whole lot of our other activity around our 25th season celebration. So, we're happy.
Andrew, you said you wanted another go at the MCG, but you didn't ask for it. Why wouldn't you ask for it if you wanted more?
Sorry, we do. I think there's a general understanding for the AFL that the interstate clubs would like to have as many games as possible at the MCG. Look, I think if we're given one, we'd like another one. It'll be an ongoing request. I don't think it was a specific request this year. All of this happened prior to me arriving, but we'll be ensuring that they know that we're keen to have as many of those games as possible.
And looking at the draw, who you play, is it a no excuses draw as far as performing next year? You've only got 2 top 4 teams, and of the other 6 teams that made the 8, you play 4 of those at home and 2 away. So is it favourable from that point of view?
Look, I'm not going to start suggesting to Phil Walsh that I know which games are winnable and which ones aren't for him. I think from a footy department perspective, every game's going to be a challenge, and I think we've seen that it's fraught with danger to start predicting wins and losses when a draw is handed out at the beginning of a season. So, look, I think that they're comfortable with particularly from the travel perspective, they're comfortable with the number of, or the small number of 6-day breaks that they have. I think they're generally comfortable with how it's panned out. But look, let's go out there and just start at round 1 versus North Melbourne on Easter Sunday and go from there.
Do you feel that the lack of the bigger stage and the bigger games could affect the club's earning capacity, given the revamped Adelaide Oval's ability to draw a crowd?
Well, look, I'd probably question whether the suggestion that we don't have big games there. I think that we do, we absolutely do. So we've got some great fixtures, as I said, against Richmond, against Geelong, Hawthorn, Fremantle. Obviously, showdown against Port. And we've got 57,000 members, and we had 48,000 people attend average across our home games in 2014, the largest of any sporting club in the country. I expect that they'll be turning out in full force again in season 2015, and to watch a new coach with a team under his tutelage kicking off on Easter Sunday.
You made a lot of, you made a lot of, or the Crows made a lot of the Friday night game they had. It was a big clash around the city. Is that emphasis on the Richmond game going to have to be the same, given it's the only opportunity to showcase? Yeah, look, we'll be making it into a big game. We'll be seeking to make all 11 games into significant events. That's part of what we want to do. We're an entertainment product, and we want to make sure that all 11 games are pitched that way. Each will have their own individual characteristics. As I said, we got the Thursday night game against Hawthorn, 25th season anniversary. The Friday night fixture against Richmond, which is the multicultural round. We've got a clash against Fremantle, which is part of the Indigenous round, and we're really proud of the club's Indigenous program, led by Andrew McLeod. So we've got, there's a range of activities at Saturday nights through Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. So look, and obviously starting with an Easter Sunday clash against North. So we'll try and create 11 big events.
So you touched on the most exciting part of the draw just then. What's the most challenging part of the draw from the club's point of view?
Look, I don't think there's a letdown period. I'm quite comfortable. So we've got a good spread throughout. So the footy department are happy with regards to the travel. So importantly, we looked at those when some of the drafts came through to ensure that we're able to tick those boxes that didn't present challenges that we felt were unfair. Said from a commercial perspective, we start off at home, which is important again. So I think that was another tick for us. We've got our 25th anniversary clash, which was another tick for us. We've got a good Friday night fixture, and we've also got a spread of time slots, which importantly we're going to appeal to those in the city, those in the country, who want to come and attend as many games as possible. So I think all in all, it's a balanced, solid fixture.
Given the success of last season's Thursday night fixture against the Pies here, and the club's support for Thursday night, was that a focus for you this year, going to the AFL? And if it was, were you disappointed not to get more of those Thursday night games? Well,
I think there were only 5 Thursday night games that have been allocated right across the fixture, so it's not as though there are plenty of them that go out. So I think to pick up one was pretty solid, and said it will be made into a massive event, given it will be pitched around our 25th anniversary or 25th season anniversary. If it's a success again, we'll try and ensure it's a regular part of the calendar. Certainly the game against Collingwood last season was a tremendous success. Hopefully this one will be exactly the same, and it will become a regular feature on the Adelaide Crows program.
What's your view, Andrew, on the twilight fixtures and sort of the thoughts of members about that?
About the showdown?
Oh no, so the twilight fixture in general, obviously the showdown, expect to draw a massive crowd there, but the other twilight fixtures there.
Well, I think we've only got, so correct me if I'm wrong, what have we got in terms of twilights?
We've got two home games, we've only got the one home.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. So we've only got that, one twilight fixture.
One's on the road, but as I say, for a home game, we've only got the one on the Sunday.
Yeah, so we've sort of we've been looked after there in terms of twilight fixtures. So we've got the one against Port, so it'll be a massive event. The showdown always is, but the rest of the slots said I think they're friendly for our supporter base. Said Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, Saturday nights, Friday night, Thursday night. So look, we're really happy with how the time slots have panned out.
Is that something you look to avoid, the twilight?
Yeah, look, I think ideally we'll try on Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons rather than the twilight fixtures are preferable. So we've only picked up one, it being the showdown, so we're very happy with that.
Andrew, you mentioned performances earlier. You've sort of been here for a while now, and you've obviously been a successful organiser.
4 weeks.
Well, you said you've got a little more understanding now than you did at the first press conference.
Indeed.
Are there any similarities that you're sort of picking up between the Adelaide Footy Club and other successful organisations you've been at?
In terms of?
Just in general, just sort of similarities, the way that they run or the way that departments particularly run?
Yeah, look, I've spent the last 4 weeks, obviously a good part of it putting in place, with Phil Walsh, the football program, obviously starting with his appointment and then the various decisions that have been made subsequently. I've started to deep dive into the business a little more broadly over the last couple of weeks in particular, meet 90 odd staff, and look, I've been really pleased to see sort of how passionate the people exist within the club. The business isn't dissimilar. We're running a high performance program. We've got revenue that largely comes from the same traditional sources. We've got to look at ways in which we can develop those revenue streams more broadly. But mate, much of it's really consistent. There are a few areas here that I consider to be truly elite. I had a great briefing last week with the guys in the recruitment department. Some of the tools that they use, I think, are truly elite, right across all sports. So it's really pleased there. And look, part of my job is to ensure that we develop more elite areas of the business, so both in footy and across the commercial departments as well.
So you've been able to identify already a few areas that do need a little more developing?
Yeah, look, I think there's plenty of areas that need developing, and that will be the case every year. You won't ever see me sitting up here happy with where we are. We'll continue to strive to be better every year. And so the thing I've welcomed is that there's no one sitting in this place that is suggesting otherwise. Everyone's looking for ways to improve what they're doing. There's plenty of great ideas coming through, and look, I'm embracing those and just looking at how we best allocate resources to achieve the best outcome for the football club, both on and off the field, and to support the 19th man and the membership base, who I said they're passionate, they're engaged. I've loved their engagement to date. I've loved the ideas that I've been receiving from them, and but look, I'm really comfortable with where the club's at, and particularly where it's heading.
You mentioned recruitment. Is there any urgency or any headway with the big three that are out of contract next year, Sloane, Dangerfield and Walker? Are you still talking with them now?
I've finished talking with them. No. Look. Obviously, I know that you'll probably get bored with me providing this response, but we're not going to provide sort of ongoing dialogue as to where that player contractual discussions are at. The players are important to us. We'll do what we can to keep them.
Your predecessor sort of indicated when he sort of stepping down from this role that the negotiations with the SMA over the stadium deal were expected to come to a conclusion quite, very short future. He was sort of indicating. Are you handling those negotiations now? When do you expect them to come through?
Yeah, look, I've picked up those just in the recent couple of weeks, and look, they're not where we'd like them to be. The review certainly is not complete. The result of the move to Adelaide Oval hasn't commercially delivered what we would expect. I think the position is the same with our colleagues at Port Adelaide. It's not an acceptable outcome as it currently is. So the review's ongoing. Those negotiations will continue, and hopefully they're resolved sooner rather than later.
Are you happy with the way those negotiations are progressing, though?
I'll be happy when they're finalised, and the fact that they're progressing indicates we're not happy with where they are at the moment. But look, I think they're being held in the appropriate spirit. But we've there's a bit of work to do.